All right. So, what do you make of, according to data, cyber attacks in Nigeria in 2023 falling by about 10%, but banking malware rising by about 8% in the same year? What's your takeaway from that?
Well, that's an interesting statistics because cyber attacks will always continue to increase. So mainly, basically, what they're measuring is cyber threats, which is how vulnerable things are, how susceptible people are to being exploited online. And this is mainly measured online. But the increase in ransomware has a lot to do with our banking systems, our financial services, people digitizing increasingly. So you have more of your digital assets online. And as you know, cyber criminals pretty much follow the treasure. So, and that treasure is your data these days. And they hold that to ransom and expect you to pay for it, for it to be released. So increased digital activity is the reasons for the increase in ransomware as well.
You mentioned financial data. It's very sensitive. And of course, I mean, you're talking about people's money here. Is enough being done to reduce the attacks on the financial side for banking data?
Well, enough is subjective. So there's a lot that is being done. So CBN, for instance, mandates a lot of the financial institutions to go through some steps, measures, implementation of some security measures, a whole lot of security certifications to increase their posture and help protect sensitive information. However, as people are doing that, we also know that these malicious actors are not relenting, they're not resting, they have a career in themselves doing that. So it's basically how well you continue to protect yourself. So it's not a one-off thing, you have to do it continuously. Will it always be enough? Maybe not, but you need to do it continuously and all the time.
Okay, so in that case, how much of what we see, at least from your vantage point, is individuals being reckless with their data or being careless as opposed to weak controls on the institution side? How would you divide it up?
That's interesting because on both sides, the human element is also there. So whether it's controls, weak controls, or people being reckless, it's underpinned by a human being having to do something. As we all know, the human being is also the weakest link in any security process or chain. And from time to time, you find that controls have been put in place. And what we see is over time, people tend to get lax and complacent, and that exposes them. But a lot of the time also, it's also people not knowing how sensitive the data or information they have is. So if you don't know how sensitive that is, then you're not likely to be able to prevent it or protect it well from cyber attacks. But a typical example is the traditional world of banking. Everybody believes money is kept in the vault. And there's a whole lot of protection the bank puts around physical protection of the vault. If we move to the digital world, we need to think about it that way as well. So whatever is sensitive to you, be it your personal data, financial data, you apply the same level of security to it.
Now, the Nigeria Data Protection Act is a deadline, I think, of March 31st. A lot of businesses have to comply. What are businesses like yours doing to try to get them, ready before that deadline?
All right, we're doing a couple of things. First and foremost, we're a registered entity with the Nigerian Data Protection Commission to help organizations prepare, look at their processes with regards to data protection and privacy, but also assess them towards that act and the regulation as well, and certify them to it. One of the things we've noticed over time and the years is it's a new area for a lot of people in this country in terms of data protection and privacy outside of the traditional financial institutions. So what we've done is a lot of awareness, but we do a lot of hand-holding and business as usual practices to get that ingrained into their processes and their systems. But we've also put in place solutions. We have a platform that helps you do this continuously as an organization, but we also guide you through what it means. So what is the intent of the regulation and how you can ingrain that into your operational processes.
Looking outside Nigeria, data from South Africa, their totals also fell, but I think the stat was phishing attacks via social engineering What is that? How can you help us explain what that is?
All right, so social engineering, phishing is a type of social engineering, by the way. Social engineering is just manipulative ways, being deceptive to get you to divulge or provide what's sensitive to you. It could be personal data, it could be financial data. Of course, we know financial data is a lot more interesting to everybody. So your credit card data or ID, something that you could use to impersonate you, for instance. So phishing is just that way they do it, but based on email and text messaging. So anything, they send you an SMS and say you've won a lottery, for instance. Maybe you played lotto for one reason or the other, and somebody sends you an SMS link saying you've won. You're likely to click it. That's a manipulative way using social engineering. And phishing is the means through text or email. And once you click on that link, for instance, they're able to get hold of maybe your phone or your laptop and begin to have access to your banking credentials or sensitive information. And eventually it might lead to a compromise or you being defrauded.
Thank you very much for that excellent breakdown there. So Kenya's categories are all rising. What do you make of that? Is it because they are, I guess, more in tune with financial technology, or they got M-Pesa and all these things by phone? What do you make of the increases we're seeing across different categories for? So yeah, ransomware, backdoors, phishing, exploits, and so on, all up double digits in Kenya.
All right, so these are just all forms of the malicious actors trying to get what they want, which is either money or hold people to ransom or try and extort you one way or the other. But why it's prevalent in Kenya, or seems to be prevalent in Kenya these days, is they're going through a lot of digital transformation. So if you notice, there are a lot of fintechs going up there. There's a whole startup ecosystem around all e-commerce, logistics, financial services coming online. And as this happens, the bad guys will also try to take advantage of that. So that exposure and that increase in activity within the digital ecosystem always brings about an increase in cybercrime. So that's what they're probably experiencing in Kenya right now.
As far as most online possibility or potential of most online threats, Kenya came in second to, I think it was Turkey. Third was Qatar, and was South Africa fourth? Yes. Is it a similar answer here? These are all countries that are, I mean, Qatar hosted the World Cup. South Africa is the most industrialized nation on the African continent. Turkey is pretty advanced itself. Is that the reason why? What's your interpretation of this data?
Turkey is similar. So I looked at the report, I've read it. It's more that Kenyan users Turkish users are actually more susceptible to cyber attacks. So there's an increase there for whatever reason the report didn't state. But like you mentioned, Turkey is a big hub in the Mediterranean for business activities. A lot of Nigerians go to Turkey these days to do business for one reason or the other. That, as we know, business always brings into light what is happening. And now everything is going digital, so there's more attention for the malicious guys as well. What's
your advice for, just to wrap up, for folks to be more safe in 2024? What do they have to pay attention to?
One simple thing is when anything is too good to be true, it probably is. So if you get an email, an SMS or something saying you've won, a pop-up on your phone, be very wary before you click on those. Also put in place systems. So simple things like endpoint detection, antivirus for lay people. In institutions, it has to do with a lot of awareness training, implementing controls, but also assessing the controls, because it's one thing to put it in place. It's one thing to know it's actually going to deliver when the time comes in the event of an attack. So it's a culmination of a lot of these things, but also getting yourself prepared and assessing yourself to the standards, global standards as well, to make sure that you're up there, you're ready, and a lot of your employees, staff, and individuals also are aware of possible ways you could get exploited.
Very, very informative discussion. Adetukumba Omotosho, CEO of Cybervergent. Thank you so much for talking to us about cyber attacks and the potentials, and telling us how to keep safe.
Thank you very much.